What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Turf Watch. I'm Dom Farrow, and today I'm going through all the awful Steelers takes so you don't have to. This week, the Steelers take on the Texans and C.J. Stroud, a team that we don't have a lot of understanding of how they're going to look and what their identity is going to be this season. Texans fans are feeling pretty good after last weekend. They pretty much dominated the Jaguars in a matchup that the Jags were heavily favored in. So Texans are feeling good about this. C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Dameon Pierce, they have weapons. Now the Steelers move into this one, first game of the year where they're favorites, and rightfully so. Now the Texans, they've been pretty hot. Their fans are feeling pretty good. But the big thing about this game is going to be the defense. Now the Texans' offensive line has been beat up from the beginning of the season, and it's only gotten worse. Now it looks as if Josh Jones and Laramie Tunsil are also going to be out on Sunday. So that means the Texans would be down to their third starting left tackle, their third left guard, their third center, and their second right tackle. And as you know, the Steelers' defense and its pass rush has been pretty darn good the last 2 weeks. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. And speaking of T.J. Watt, he is having an unprecedented, historic season. He is on pace for over 30 sacks, and his numbers are just through the roof, and he was honored with AFC Player of the Month last week. Here, I think, is the biggest disrespect we've seen since the last episode. NFL Game Day put out a ranking of the top 10 pass rushers, and as you can see, someone's missing, and it's the guy who leads the NFL in sacks, forced fumbles, QB pressures, QB hits. He's got a touchdown. He's got fumble recoveries. He's doing it all. This one doesn't make any sense. I think more people need to be calling them out for this one. Let's just go through the season right now. Week 1, the 49ers dominantly controlled the ball against the Steelers. Week 2, tough battle against the Browns where Steelers offense never got into the red zone but still won the game. And now we have this Week 3 game where the Steelers took on the Raiders. Again, not one where you saw a ton of offensive success, but enough to show you that the team is progressing. And you saw some different plays from Matt Canada. So you saw him, the pressure get off his back a little bit this week. This graph is showing that the Steelers really didn't perform as well as some people may have thought. This just shows that the Steelers, this entire game, they were actually anticipated to lose. They never really ran away with it. And in fact, the Raiders had more opportunities to win the game. But like I said, defense has been doing their thing all year, and this isn't expected. They're not going to be winning games like the Dolphins where they're going to be scoring 70 points. They're all going to be gritty like this. Part of this tweet was, for a second straight week, the Steelers win a game where they probably should have lost. There wasn't anything in this game where the Raiders showed me that they're a better team. Davante Adams, one of the best in the league, of course, but Jimmy Garoppolo and the rest of the weapons and their pretty weak defense, if I'm being honest. There was never a shot where I thought the Raiders were going to win this game. So last week on the show, I had been talking about the Raiders' offensive line and how successful they had been to start the season. They had allowed 0 sacks. And now, C.J. Stroud, 0 interceptions. So is that going to change? As we know, last week, T.J. Watt, 3 sacks, kept the domination going. And C.J. Stroud, the young rookie, it's going to happen this week. He will throw his first interception. This game's going to be all about the defense, and I think they're going to run away with it. An interesting point was brought up in this tweet. He says, curious to see how well Steelers can run the ball. With all the issues on Texans' offensive line, you got to think that they won't have the ball much, but the Steelers will, and hopefully time of possession will be significantly higher. You'd think so with how the defense is playing and all the injuries that the Texans are dealing with. You would think that the Steelers will have the ball a lot, but we've seen a lot of 3-and-outs. We've seen a lot of short drives. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be a test, see if they can actually control the offense. I think Steelers fans and me as well, we're going into this game with a ton of confidence. If the Steelers can't move the ball, we're going back to step one where we're all kind of worried and we're like, is this offense good enough? Can they move the ball like we need them to win these big games? This is going to be a huge one. No doubt in my mind, defense steps up. No doubt in my mind, they get the interception. The biggest thing on my mind is this offense and if they'll be able to move the ball. You got to see it happen on Sunday, and if you don't, we're going to be talking about the same things again. Steelers legend Jerome Bettis talking about the Steelers this week. He said that's going to be a team that people are going to be afraid of by the end of the year. I've said the same thing. Week 1, Week 2, Week 3. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it every week. This Steelers team is not going to look the same in Week 8 as it did Week 1. They've got the talent. They're still gelling together. They're still figuring things out. I completely agree with Jerome Bettis here. That is a great take. Now, some interesting, maybe hot takes, maybe even a bad take. Mark Madden had an article this week. He says, victory over the Raiders proved no game will be easy for the Steelers. I really do think the Steelers run away with this game this weekend. I don't think CJ Stroud is going to be able to do it. Run defense is going to be huge for the Steelers this weekend. Dameon Pierce has been struggling behind that beat-up offensive line. For me, this game comes down to it being a shutdown test. Can the Steelers shut down the Texans? Can they put up enough points on board where the defense can go out there, do their thing, make some big plays? I don't know. I feel pretty good. Let's take a look at this Steelers subreddit. Some trash talk. Nothing negative to say about the Texans at all. Too early in the season for me to give a damn about what the Texans are doing. No one even thinks about the Texans. I'm only mildly scared of the Texans, and that's saying something. The best Watt has yet to play in Houston. That is a good point. Pickett's accuracy hasn't quite been there this year, and a lot of people have been using him as probably the second scapegoat behind Matt Canada. But if we look at these pressure numbers, 41 pressures, most in the NFL, 36% of the time, most in the NFL. He's been hit 15 times, which is third most. He's been hurried 18 times. And he's only been blitzed 22 times, which is 29th in the NFL. Can't happen. He's going to get hurt. These are just awful numbers. These remind me of Ben Roethlisberger, earlier career type of numbers where he was just taking hits, getting sacked on almost every time he dropped back. For me, you just got to give Pickett a chance to put it in the playmaker's hands. You got to be able to give it to Calvin Austin, Pickens. If he doesn't have the time, if he's being pressured every single time, it's not going to happen. It's going to be huge for the Steelers on Sunday, and hopefully they get it done. Now, you look at these pressure rates, and you're like, something's got to change, right? This guy says, we really should have drafted an offensive lineman in the first round of the draft this year. Oh, wait. So when are we going to see Broderick? I would like to see. More people are saying, let's see the rookie left tackle. This O-line sucks. Put your first-round pick on the field. Here's something interesting about Pat Freiermuth. Kenny Pickett through 3 games and 104 passing attempts. Freiermuth has only had 9 targets, and 32 NFL tight ends have had more. This is typical Steelers. Like I said, too many weapons on this team. If you're playing fantasy, I would never start a Steelers player. I would try to trade all of them because this is the type of stuff you're going to see. Not enough consistency. I do believe Freiermuth will get more involved as the season continues, but I do think these numbers are unacceptable for first of all, the draft capital that we put into him, 2, the amount of years left that we have on his contract, and lastly, because of how talented he is. When this guy does get the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. He's had some explosive plays, especially for tight ends, so I would definitely like to see him get more involved as well. It says we're putting up 40 this week. Stroud throws 4 picks. It says 40 yards. Only if the defense scores 28. So here are the big things for me this week. CJ Stroud, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but also Texans offensive line, basically without any of their starters. And then you add the fact that you got TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Larry Ogunjobi. You got these linebackers who are making plays, being intimidating, doing their thing. Steelers will bring pressure. They'll get 4+ sacks, and they'll get 2+ interceptions. You can lock that in. That will happen. Stroud is good. He's been making plays early in his career, but the pressure that's going to be getting to him, he will most definitely be making a lot of plays. He will be forced to throw the ball late into the second half. And then the second part of this is that the Steelers offense needs to get going. You face really tough defenses to start the year. Last year you faced a middle-of-the-pack defense of the Raiders, and you scored some points. You had Kenny Pickett throw 2 touchdown passes for the first time in his career. And now you go against the Texans, another defense who's middle of the pack. They aren't the worst. They aren't the best. But this is a team that if you want to be a contender, if you think you're a top 10 team in the league, you got to be moving the ball. Maybe as good as last week, but I'd like to see it better. And I think you will see it better. So those are 2 big things for me this week for the Steelers-Texans week 4. Let's see what other predictions are. This guy says winning by anything more than 1 score for once would be nice. Our defense will carry the team again, but the offense will have something more to show up, and I hope it will. Steelers 27-24. Game ends on either a Boswell make or a Fairbairn miss. Interesting. Steelers win 24-13. Steelers win 13-7. Here's something that hasn't been brought up yet, and it's the trap game. People have been always talking about Tomlin trap games, this and that. Have there been games that the Steelers were big favorites in? They should have won easily. Yeah. Is this one where they're big favorites and should win easily? I wouldn't say huge favorites, but they are favorites, and this is one that you could lose. It isn't one where you should be going into it thinking, yeah, we are a lot better than we thought we were after week 1. We're real good. Like, we can beat this team easily. You can't go into this game thinking that. And he brings up the young weapons like Tank Dell. That dude's a freak. He's a rookie who's been tearing it up so far. Last week on the show, I said, who's going to stop Davante Adams? I guess we'll find out. And we didn't find out because no one could cover that guy. He went off. We've seen so little of Tank Dell. I could definitely see him going off. I could see him being uncoverable on Sunday. So he's one of those guys that you need to take in consideration. And I would definitely keep an eye out for him all week. This guy says, because the Yins are all saying TJ and Highsmith are going to feast, the D-line will feast, rookie quarterback, their subpar run game, and their subpar run defense. I'm saying Texans 23, Steelers 16. Yikes. Let's go on this Texans subreddit where they're feeling pretty good. This guy says, me pulling up the subreddit on Monday morning after CJ throws for 300 yards and 0 picks. This guy says, Texans have 11 winnable games left on their schedule. Okay. Texans fans are really getting out of control. Here's something interesting. Tank Dell's 1.5 second 10-yard split speed will be on full display against the Pittsburgh's explosive pass play prone cornerbacks. Pittsburgh's aging secondary has allowed 13 explosive pass plays to opposing wide receivers, tied for the 5th most in the NFL. We know we don't have the quickest corners in the league. We know that our cornerbacks are probably slower than most in the league. We'd like to see Joey Porter Jr. get involved more. I thought he was great every time he was on the field. Other guys have been struggling, so it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a really good matchup. I'm going into this with a lot of confidence. I think all Steelers fans should. I think we should continue with this momentum and continue supporting these guys and giving them all your energy. We know this division is always competitive. I think the Steelers are going to be right in the hunt up until the very end. This week is huge. The week after is huge. You go into the bye week 4-1, and this Steelers team is right in the hunt, and they're right where you want them to be. Last week, I asked you guys what you thought about certain things. This week, my question to you is going to be, what do you think about the Steelers trading for Jonathan Taylor? There have been some insiders saying that Steelers might have some interest. I don't think I would be a fan of that. But let's give a hypothetical here. Jonathan Taylor for Najee Harris and a couple mid-round picks. Would you say no to that? What do you guys think? Would you want Jonathan Taylor on the team? Do you think he'd add another layer to this offense? Personally, I'm not sure, but I'd like to know what you guys think about it. But we're going to wrap this one up right here. This has been another episode of Turf Watch, episode number 4. Steelers hopefully getting another win this week and continuing on the roll that they're having. So with that being said, if you guys see any awful takes between now and NFL Week 5, make sure you send it to me on Twitter @DomFarrow, and I'll be sure to feature it in this show. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Go Steelers.